I never thought I'd end up here, writing this out and exposing what happened between me and my wife, Lisa. Honestly, I'm still trying to process it myself. We've been together for over 10 years. I thought we had a decent life. Married, 2 kids, a decent house, steady jobs. Nothing spectacular, but good enough. I always trusted her, or at least I thought I did. She was the kind of girl who'd roll her eyes if you brought up trust issues. Always dismissive, like I was overthinking everything. But the signs started creeping in about a year ago, mostly small stuff at first. Late nights, vague excuses, her phone always face down, her avoiding eye contact. Nothing concrete, just enough to make me suspicious. I'd catch her lying, but she'd spin some bullshit story about work or her friends. Typical. Still, something felt off and I kept waiting for more clues or a reason to confront her properly. Then came the real shocker. It was about 2 months ago when I started noticing her phone activity was way more secretive than usual. She'd leave her phone around, then suddenly go to the bathroom and lock the door. I'd hear her whispering, and she'd get defensive if I even glanced at her screen. I decided to install a monitoring app just to see what she was hiding. And what I found? Well, it was a punch to the gut. She had been messaging someone named Alex nonstop, late-night texts, flirty emojis, even explicit messages. I saw pictures she sent and received, nothing explicit at first, but then things spiraled into her talking about having sex with him, how hot he was, how she couldn't stop thinking about him. It was clear she'd been cheating on me for months. What made it worse was that the messages weren't just about sex, they were emotional. She called him her escape, said she felt alive when she was chatting with him. I found out she met him once just a week ago at some bar downtown. My wife, the woman I loved, sneaking out to meet her lover. I was numb. For days I just watched her, trying to figure out what to do. I kept asking myself, how did I miss all this? Was I so blind? Was our life just a facade? I still remember the sinking feeling in my stomach when I realized she'd been lying to me for months, hiding her affair behind her bitchy attitude and sharp tongue. That was the moment I knew my entire world was crumbling, and everything I believed about her was false. But I didn't confront her yet. I needed to get more evidence to understand the full scope. I also needed to think. I felt this mix of anger and sadness I couldn't shake. It was like being betrayed by the person I trusted most, but also like I'd been stupid for not seeing it sooner. All the signs had been there, but I convinced myself she was just stressed or overworked. Now I realized she'd been playing me all along. The more I thought about her, the more I remembered her bitchy attitude whenever I asked about her whereabouts, like she was already planning her escape. That's when I decided I had to do something about it. I couldn't keep living in this fog of lies. I needed to find a way to turn this around, by any means necessary. So, after discovering everything, I started piecing things together. I knew I couldn't just confront her without a plan. I had to be smart about this. I began by digging deeper into her phone, her social media, even her emails. I needed proof that went beyond just texts and photos. I wanted to catch her in the act if possible, or at least have enough evidence to back up whatever I decided to do next. Honestly, part of me was hoping I'd find something even worse, maybe some secret rendezvous or a second guy. I was just so pissed and hurt that I felt like I lost control of everything. One night I followed her. She'd been acting weird lately, more bitchy, snapping at the kids, avoiding me like I was a stranger. That night she said she was going out with her friend Lisa, but I knew better. I watched her leave the house around 9 p.m., got into her car and followed her from a distance. She went to that same bar downtown where she had met Alex. I parked a few blocks away, watching her go inside. I couldn't believe I was doing this, but I needed to know. I stayed in my car trying to keep calm even though my heart was pounding. She stayed out for hours, more than 3. When she finally came back, she was drunk and giggling with some guy. I couldn't see his face clearly, but I saw enough. They were close, touchy, whispering to each other. I felt my stomach turn over. I wanted to storm in there, but knew I had to keep my cool. I snapped a few pictures with my phone, just enough evidence, then quietly slipped away when she went inside. That was the moment I realized she'd crossed a line I never thought she would. My wife, my partner, was actively cheating on me with some guy she barely knew, and she was lying to my face. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything, the lies, the sneers, her bad attitude. I was furious but also deeply hurt. How did I miss all this? I kept asking myself if I was so blind or if she was just that good at hiding. I felt betrayed, angry, and honestly, a little pathetic. I'd always thought I was a good husband, a steady guy who deserved honesty. Turns out I was just a fool. The next few days, I sat with that evidence, debating whether I should just confront her or do something more calculated. I didn't want to ruin everything in a rash moment, but I also couldn't live with this secret anymore. I decided I needed to confront her, but I'd do it on my terms. I wanted her to know I knew. I needed her to feel what I was feeling, betrayed, humiliated, angry. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I'd have to be prepared for her reaction. She's the kind of woman who lies and manipulates her way out of situations. She's bitchy, sharp-tongued, and more skilled at denial than anyone I know. I knew she'd deny everything, call me paranoid, or accuse me of spying, but I had the proof. I was ready to face the consequences, whatever they might be. Honestly, I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, unsure if I should jump or turn back. But part of me knew that I couldn't keep living in this shadow of a lie. I had to confront her and get some answers, even if they were the worst ones. The day I decided to confront her, I felt like I was walking into a storm. I had all the evidence. On my phone, screenshots, photos, everything. I was trying to stay calm, but inside I was boiling. I knew she'd lie, deny, and probably throw every excuse she could think of. Still, I needed to hear it from her mouth. I called her into the living room and she looked annoyed, more annoyed than usual, like I was bothering her. That bitchy attitude was there even before I brought it up. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "Lisa, I know about Alex. I know you've been cheating on me. Don't deny it." Her face instantly twisted with that sneer she always wears when she's trying to be defiant. "What are you talking about? You're crazy. You're just jealous," she shot back, her voice dripping with contempt. I held up my phone, showing her the screenshots, texts, emojis, the photos from the bar. Her eyes flickered, then she scoffed. "Oh, so you're spying now? Typical. You're just paranoid. Maybe you're the one cheating, you know," she spat out, her words like venom. I couldn't believe how quick she was to turn it around. I pressed further, "Why did you meet him? Why lie to me all this time?" Her answer, "It's none of your damn business. I was just having fun and you're too stupid to see I needed that. You think I'm happy with you. You're boring, you don't listen, you don't understand me." Every word felt like a punch. I felt my stomach tight. She was so good at lying and twisting everything. I could see her trying to manipulate the situation like she always did when backed into a corner. I knew I had to stay calm, but inside I was burning with rage. I told her I was done accepting her bullshit, that I deserved better than a wife who cheated behind my back and then lied her way out of it. She rolled her eyes, scoffing again, then started the usual tirade about how I was controlling, insecure, and jealous. That's her favorite line. "You don't trust me, you're just insecure." She kept insisting she was innocent, that Alex was just a friend, that she didn't do anything wrong. But I saw through that bullshit. I saw the affair in her eyes when she thought I wasn't looking, that little flicker of guilt and defiance. The confrontation turned ugly fast. She called me paranoid, accused me of spying, and spat out insults. I felt a mixture of anger and sadness. I wondered how we got here. The woman I loved, who once seemed so sweet and charming, now a stranger who was capable of lying and cheating like this. I wanted to break down, but I held it together. I told her she could lie all she wanted, but I knew the truth. That she was a bitchy, cheating liar who thought she could get away with it. Her face turned red with rage, her voice cracking, but she kept denying everything. I realized then that I couldn't fix this with words alone. I was hurt beyond words, betrayed in ways I never imagined. But I also knew I had to decide what my next move was. I told her that I wouldn't tolerate this anymore, that I was done with her bullshit. Her response: she looked at me with pure contempt and said, "You're just overreacting. You always do. I don't care what you think." That was the moment I knew I had to act. I couldn't stay in this hellhole anymore, pretending everything was fine when I knew she was out there screwing someone else. I had to figure out whether I fought for the marriage or just walked away for good. That confrontation was the turning point, and from that moment on, everything changed. After that explosive confrontation, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. My head was pounding, my emotions a mess. Anger, disappointment, betrayal all swirling inside me. I knew I couldn't just storm out and leave things as they were. I had to think carefully about my next move. I knew she'd try to manipulate me, deny everything, or even turn the blame back on me. That's her style. She's bitchy, sharp-tongued, and masterful at twisting words to her advantage. But I also knew I had enough proof now, and I wasn't going to let her gaslight me again. For the next couple of days, I kept my distance. I didn't want to give her any excuse to spin her lies further. Instead, I went over everything I had, those screenshots, the photos, all her texts with Alex. I stayed up late, replaying the last few months in my head, trying to understand how I missed all the signs. It stung so bad to realize. She had been playing me for a fool, hiding her affair behind her bitchy attitude and her sharp words. I felt humiliated, angry, and deeply betrayed. The worst part was the realization that she'd been lying to my face, treating me like I was stupid. One night, I decided I'd had enough. I sat her down again just to talk, this time more seriously. I needed her to understand that I wasn't going to accept her bullshit anymore. I told her I knew everything, that I had plenty of evidence, and that I was sick of her crap. She looked at me with that same bitchy sneer but tried to fake innocence. "You're overreacting," she said, crossing her arms. I looked at her and said, "No, Lisa, you're the one overreacting. You've been cheating on me, lying and sneaking around. I don't want to be with someone who can do that to me." She scoffed again, her eyes narrowing. "You're just insecure. You think I owe you everything. You're controlling. I don't have to explain myself to you." That's when I snapped. I told her I was tired of her excuses, tired of her bitchy attitude, tired of her lies. I told her I was done playing her game. The look in her eyes was like a mixture of anger and contempt, but I could see she was starting to realize I wasn't backing down. I knew she'd try to spin it again, say I was overreacting or maybe threaten me, but I didn't care anymore. I just wanted her out of my life if she was going to keep lying and cheating. I asked her to leave for good. Her face contorted with rage and she spat, "Fine. You want me gone? Good. I don't need your stupid life anyway." She stormed out of the house in a fury, leaving me standing there, feeling like I'd been hit by a train. That night I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything. Part of me wanted to fix things, to forgive her and move on. But deep down, I knew it was too late. The trust was shattered, irreparably broken. I realized I'd been a fool for so long, to believe her lies, to ignore the signs, to think I was enough. Now I felt empty, betrayed, and furious. I kept asking myself how someone could do this, how she could lie so bitchily and call it love. But I also knew that the only way forward was to cut the cord, to start healing from this nightmare. I couldn't keep living in her shadow, pretending everything was fine. I had to face the truth. She was gone, and I needed to find a way to rebuild myself from the wreckage. The days that followed were a blur of confusion and pain. I threw myself into work, trying to drown out the ache in my chest. But at night, the house felt dead, cold, empty, without her bitchy remarks or that fake smile she always put on when she was lying. I kept replaying everything. The moments I missed, the red flags I ignored, her sneering denial. It was like a punch to the gut every time, knowing I'd been so blind, so stupid to trust her. I also started to realize how much she'd manipulated me over the years. That bitchy attitude, the sharp tongue, the way she dismissed my feelings, those weren't just her personality quirks. They were her weapons. She used them to keep me quiet, to keep me questioning my own sanity. And the worst part, I'd let her get away with it for so long because I loved her, because I wanted to believe in us. But that illusion was shattered now, and I saw her for what she really was, a selfish, lying cheater who thought she could control everything, including me. One thing I'll say, getting rid of her wasn't easy. She was relentless in her lies, her manipulations. She called, texted, even showed up here a few times, trying to guilt me or get back in. Each time she'd throw out some bitchy remark about how I was ruining her life, how she deserved better, and how I was just insecure. I blocked her number, ignored her calls, didn't answer when she showed up unannounced. She kept pushing, but I was done playing her game. Honestly, I felt a mix of anger and relief. Anger because she'd betrayed me so badly, and relief because I finally took control. During this time, I realized I needed to focus on myself. I started going to the gym again, reconnecting with friends I'd pushed aside. It wasn't just about healing physically, but also trying to piece myself back together mentally. The hardest part was dealing with all the raw emotions, hurt, disappointment, anger, and a strange sense of betrayal that kept haunting me. How could she do this? How could she lie so easily, call me all those nasty names, and then pretend to be the innocent victim? It was infuriating. But I also knew I couldn't change her. I could only change how I responded to her betrayal. One night, I sat down and wrote everything out. Not just the story of her cheating, but my feelings, my fears, how I felt about myself now. It was cathartic. I realized I'd lost a lot: trust, comfort, and a sense of security, but I also gained clarity. I saw her for what she was, a manipulative, bitchy woman who thought she could get away with anything. And I saw myself for what I was, someone who let her get away with too much for too long. But that was over now. I was done making excuses for her. I was done pretending everything was okay when it was. I decided I wasn't going to jump into another relationship anytime soon. I needed time to heal, to rebuild my confidence, and to learn how to trust again. I knew that her betrayal wasn't just about cheating. It was about the lies, the manipulation, the way she made me doubt myself. I had to rebuild my life piece by piece without her, and I was determined to do it, no matter how hard it got. Because at the end of the day, I learned that I deserved honesty, respect, and someone who didn't treat me like shit, no matter what her bitchy attitude tried to make me think. So now I'm here, trying to move on, trying to find some sense of normalcy after all this chaos. It's not easy, but I know I'm better off without her. I just wish I hadn't wasted so much time thinking she was some kind of partner when she was really just a liar and a cheat. But I guess every betrayal teaches you something. About yourself, about trust, about what you'll accept and what you won't. And for now, I'm choosing to focus on healing, on rebuilding my life the way I want it, without her. Looking back now, I realize that this whole ordeal has changed me. It's made me more cautious, more aware of the little signs I once brushed off as insignificant. I won't be that naive guy again who believed everything she told me. I learned the hard way that some women, no matter how bitchy, manipulative, or convincing, are capable of doing things you wouldn't think possible. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to fully restore. I've come to accept that some betrayals cut so deep that they shatter the foundation of what you thought was a solid life. What I've also learned is that revenge isn't always about retaliation in the way most people imagine. For me, it was about taking back control of my own life. It was about realizing that I didn't need her, her lies, her manipulation, her betrayal, to be happy or complete. I cut her out, not just physically but emotionally. I had to rebuild my confidence and learn to love myself again. I realized I'd been so focused on pleasing her, on making her happy, that I'd forgotten about my own happiness. That's a mistake I won't make again. And honestly, I feel a strange sense of relief now. Sure, I'm still angry about what she did, but I also feel liberated. I don't have to walk on eggshells anymore, trying to hide my feelings or pretend everything's okay. I can finally breathe. I've started looking at this betrayal as a kind of wake-up call, a brutal but necessary lesson in trust, boundaries, and self-respect. Life is too short to waste on someone who doesn't value you, who treats you like a punching bag or a backup plan. If there's one thing I want to tell anyone reading this, whether you're in a similar situation or just starting to suspect something's wrong, it's this: don't ignore the signs. Trust your gut. If someone's lying, sneaking around, or acting bitchy and defensive, don't dismiss it as nothing, because that nothing might explode into something much worse. And when it does, you'll wish you had the strength to walk away sooner. I wasted too much time trying to fix something that was already broken beyond repair. Now I see that sometimes the best revenge is simply walking away and refusing to be a victim anymore. I can't promise I won't feel pain from this for a while. Breakups, especially after betrayal like this, leave scars, but I also know that I'll heal. I'll find happiness again on my own terms. It's not about getting, revenge on her anymore. It's about reclaiming myself, my dignity, my peace, my future. And I hope anyone who reads this who's going through something similar finds the strength to do the same. Because in the end, no one deserves to be lied to, cheated on, or treated like they're nothing. We all deserve honesty, respect, and someone who values us for who we truly are, nothing less.